everybody, Jackie Woodside here, the founder of the Curriculum for Conscious Living and the Conscious Living Summit. I wanted to pop in here. You've been following along this summit for the last 2 weeks, and I wanted to pop in and thank you for your energy, your enthusiasm, your excitement about this summit. I have loved every single minute of it. And I also wanted to pop in here just to give me my own 2 cents about this notion of consciousness and conscious living. Yes, I am the founder of the Conscious Living Summit. And lots of people have asked me this question, Jackie, what's your passion? Why are you doing this kind of a summit called the Conscious Living Summit? And I wanted to address that personally with each and every one of you. You know, I've been in this space for a long time. I've been a therapist for 30 years and also a professional coach for 30 years, not 30 years one and 30 years the other. I guess you can figure that part out, but overlapping for a few years of those 2 careers. But let's just say I've been in this space of human growth and development and human potential for a very long time. I've put in thousands, tens of thousands of hours of studying and listening to the stories of human beings. And now also I've spent thousands of hours listening to other speakers and thought leaders and teachers in this space of consciousness and conscious living. And here's the thing that I came to. While there are tons of extraordinary teachers out there, many who influenced my life, touched and changed and elevated my life, same for you, I'm sure. And yet there doesn't really seem to be any common theme of what does it mean to live a conscious life anyway? And what do we even mean by this notion of consciousness? So I wanted to come to you today and just have the opportunity to share my thoughts, my views about those topics of what conscious living means and what's different, if you will, about what I teach. So what I heard from a lot of the speakers and teachers who were on the Conscious Living Summit and other teachers that I've worked with and studied over the years is that a lot of people define consciousness as awareness. They use those words simultaneously or as a synonym with one another. Consciousness and awareness are the same thing. And I actually teach something very different. I teach that consciousness and awareness are 2 different aspects of the human experience. In fact, awareness is your access to understanding, observing, and elevating your consciousness. Awareness is your access to understanding and elevating your consciousness. So what I mean when I'm talking about consciousness, and this relates directly to conscious living, is consciousness, if you will, is your vibe. I've created an entire coaching method called the Vibe Method that is understanding that your consciousness is the resonant energy created by how you think and how you feel. In fact, I made a little acronym out of it. I say that your consciousness is your beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and thoughts, which result in your actions. So your beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and thoughts, if you follow along that acronym, your BEAT, your beat creates your vibe, which creates your life. So consciousness to me is not just your ability to observe yourself. Observing yourself is your access to being able to look and see like, oh, wow, you know, that's a belief. That thought isn't going to exactly create the outcome I want. I'm really being judgmental here. I'm really in fear. I'm feeling anxiety. So your awareness is your access to being able to observe the consciousness that you live in. You know, so that's my teaching of awareness and consciousness. They're not the same thing. So then conscious living means your ongoing ability to engage using your awareness to observe your current and evolving level of consciousness in the moment to moment, and your ability to shift. So it's your ability to observe, that's being conscious, but also your ability to alter and shift the consciousness that you're living in. So I came upon this method after years and years and years, hundreds of thousands of hours, sitting in the seat as a therapist and as a coach, listening, if you will, to hundreds and thousands of different people, but in fact, almost one human story. That human beings, as much as the faces and the names and the circumstances would change, the human story, the storyline of the human being is radically similar. There are a few places that human beings get hung up, stuck, if you will, around the human condition. And it's generally around fear of lack and insufficiency and insecurity, and fear of being judged and criticized. So either I'm not enough or I don't have enough. And then there's this defensive layer that protects against feeling like I'm not enough or I don't have enough or I won't have enough. This defensive layer called the ego protects anybody from finding that out. So I live in kind of this fear and uncertainty in the human condition. It's not anything specific to your psychology. You know, our culture is so psychologized. All of my coaching clients across the board, like, oh, I just wish I knew why. And yes, that's an important question, perhaps for your psychologist or your therapist to get to the root of that. But I like to say as a coach, do we ever really know? We can make up why you think and feel that way for the rest of your life. So as a coach, a much more interesting and important question for me to ask you as my client is, I got that you think that way and that you feel that way. The question is it serving your growth and development? And what are you going to do about it? If your thoughts and emotions aren't elevating you into the height of your human experience, aren't maximizing your human potential, you have the capacity in consciousness to alter and change how you think and feel. And you're like, oh, Jackie, it's not that easy. No, it's not. You're absolutely right. But it is possible. And it gets easier as you understand a few of these principles. And a few of these principles is simply, you are not your thoughts any more than you are your right hand. If I lost this hand, would I no longer be me? No, of course I would be me. If you change your thought world and your emotional world, are you still you? Yes, you're still you, a higher, more evolved version of you. So I came upon this, this thinking, hundreds of thousands of hours of listening to people, but also in my own process and in my own experience. I went through a lot as a younger person, a lot of depression, and I was diagnosed with ADHD and a myriad of other psychological conditions. In fact, I even had a journal article written about me because my psychological profile was so complex and so entertaining, I suppose, for the therapist that was working with me. So a long, long history of difficulty and depression. And what I came to see over the years of my own growth and development is the more that I went into why am I depressed and why do I think this way and why do I feel this way, and talking about the past trauma and talking about the addictions in my family, dealing with my own addiction, talking about why I was addicted, the more I would go into and suffer from those conditions. And the more that I started to learn that as I could shift my thinking, use my awareness to think about, how do I want to feel? What's possible? Is this thought and emotion going to lead me to the experience of life that I want to have? And learning to alter my own inner world of belief, emotion, attitude, and thought was the key that helped me transform my life from addicted to sober, from homeless to seven-figure assets, to multiple tumultuous relationships, to happily married for going on 22 years. So it's possible to change your consciousness and therefore change your life. I want to give you just a visceral, actual experience of what I'm talking about right now, okay? So I want you, if you will, for just a moment, I want you to think about something that you find difficult or troubling, maybe a difficult relationship, maybe a worry that you have about your career or the economy or your finances. So just call to mind something that you're finding particularly difficult. For me, I'm concerned about my mom. She has dementia and is living alone. So when I think about my concern for my mom, I immediately feel the sensations that go with that concern. So let me ask you, as you think about that thought for yourself, did you feel, if you will, your vibe constrict? Did you feel your energy kind of drop and go down? I know I did. I could feel that constricted energy when I called to mind that thing of concern. My mind created a sensation in my vibratory pattern. Excuse my cat as she makes her way known. My vibe created a condition in my vibratory pattern. The way that you think impacts your vibe. Let's take on a different example now, if you will. Think of something that lights you up. Maybe a place that you enjoy being, on the beach or in the forest, a hike that you enjoy, a relationship that soothes and comforts you, holding a baby, someone that you love, spending time with. Just take a minute. For me, I think about watching the sunset up at my summer home with my spouse on the deck, with our feet up on the railing, looking at the sunset coming towards us, feeling the warmth of the sun. And immediately my vibratory pattern opens. I feel relaxed. I feel expansive. I feel like anything is possible. Did you have that experience as well? See, that's what's possible in understanding that the way that what you're focused on immediately impacts the vibratory pattern that you're in. And as you understand that and then learn to master it, you have the ability to change your life forever and direct your life experience. Now, I'm not saying you can direct every circumstance that comes into your life. Let me be clear. You will still have life circumstances. After learning this, what I call my vibe method, applying it to my life, helping hundreds of thousands of clients with the vibe method, raising their vibe, becoming masterful at understanding their vibe, I still had circumstances in my life, furnaces that broke, or my son having some conditions, some medical conditions that needed intensive care. My mom suffering with dementia. So I still have circumstances in life, but my experience of those circumstances, your experience of your life circumstances can change dramatically. See, lots of coaches go about changing the external circumstances. They ask, what do you want? And I'm going to help you remove the blocks and barriers toward getting there. I start with a more fundamental question. Who are you? What's your purpose? What are you on this earth to do? And then when you answer those questions and align the vibratory pattern of who you are, who you came here to be, with what you're doing, then ask that question, given that this is who I am, what do I want to create and produce in my life? It's an extraordinary process that brings alignment into your vibratory pattern. That is the essential part of the vibe method, bringing this alignment between who you are, how you think, how you speak, what you do, and what you create. So I don't know that you can make every circumstance in your life be, perfect and happy and joyful. I think that's not the case. But can you meet any life circumstances that come your way with peace and equanimity, confidence and calm, clarity of mind, ability to act? That is the seed of empowerment. That's what will lead you to having the extraordinary life that you were born to live. That is the vibe method, re-engineering your life on the inside out so that no matter what circumstances come your way, you experience yourself as empowered and masterful. And you can apply this thinking, this philosophy toward anything. So I helped two clients come to mind, a couple of people several, but two that come to mind, help find their love partner, their soulmate. So I had a client named Tim who took one of my programs because he wanted to find his soulmate, and he was engaged in the program doing the work, finding out that inner purpose, his purpose and his mission and his values, how he wanted his life to be, and aligning that with his actions and his beliefs, bringing full alignment to his vibratory pattern. And he went away on vacation. And while he was away on vacation in Turkey, from the United States to Turkey, he met his soulmate. That was many, many years ago. She eventually moved to the United States, and they've had a lovely marriage with one another. Another one of my clients, Mindy, I just love, love, love this story. She had been single for many, many years and really was wanting to kind of have the final phase of her life be with someone. She wanted a partner. She was moving into the retirement years. And I gave her these instructions about raising her vibe, engaging in this process with enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy of finding her soulmate. I said, you go in the produce aisle at the grocery store and look for him everywhere. Well, it was just a few weeks' time, and it wasn't in the grocery aisle at the produce store, but at her church, she met a man that had been at her church for a while, and then he disappeared, and she didn't think anything of it. And then he resurfaced, and he had disappeared because his wife had been ill and passed away. And when he resurfaced, yes, indeed, they connected, and she found her soulmate. Or a couple of other clients that come to mind who had completely given up on their careers, just felt like they'd given it all, and they were tired and just couldn't do it any longer. One of them was a singer and songwriter, and she had, just was like, yeah, I can't do it any longer. And through our work and recognizing that cynical, resigned vibe was part of what was creating her constriction and feeling depressed and feeling like life wasn't that meaningful to her, and realizing that she could rewrite that through changing her vibratory pattern, went on to re-emerge in her career, and even went to Carnegie Hall, started hosting concerts again that were just packed and sold out. Another same thing, a client of mine who was an artist and a performer, just completely had given up on things, ended up resurging her career and doing a performance on Necker Island with Charles Branson and his whole crew. So changing your vibe, your vibratory pattern that you live in, here's what I teach people what happens. When you change the vibratory pattern that you're living in by changing your beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and thoughts, which create different outcomes, when you change your vibe, I believe that where you are connecting on the matrix of life itself, the vibratory matrix of life itself, you just connect at a different level. You are attracting different things into your life that you would not attract into your life when you're in that resigned space of apathy and it's just too hard and you're struggling and suffering. When you're in that space, the opportunities don't present themselves. They just don't find their way to you. In fact, years ago, when I decided that I wanted to do a TED Talk, I was teaching a vision board section in one of my courses, and I was making my own vision board, and I put pictures of TED speakers all over it. And within 2 weeks' time, a woman who had just gotten a local TEDx license had filmed me before, and she contacted me and said, Jackie, I just got a TEDx license. Would you be willing to do a TEDx talk the day that I'm doing the event? I didn't do anything. I didn't make that happen. Vibration. The vibe that I was living in shifted. I created that focus. I created that belief that, yes, I could do that. That could happen in my life. When you shift your vibe, it's like you're giving a different message, a different signal, if you will. You're changing the radio station. You're changing your frequency so that you tune into new and different opportunities. I just love teaching people about this because it is absolutely the keys to the kingdom. And if you followed my work, you know I also teach this around money. I had a wonderfully talented young client. I say young because he was younger than me by a lot. Okay, but anyway, his name was Sam. Extraordinarily talented artist and videographer, just struggling to make ends meet, kind of just getting going. And he and I did a round of coaching with one another. And in that next quarter, after the first initial round of coaching that we had done, he made more in that quarter than he had made the entire previous year. So he was beyond excited about it. And his earnings continued to grow. His projects continued to grow and expand and get just more exciting, bigger exposure because he changed his vibe. So I'm so passionate about this teaching because consciousness is life itself. And when you understand that, you really do have the keys to the kingdom of molding and creating the life vibration that you want to be living in. It's not easy, but it is certainly a rich and extraordinary way to live. I say it's not easy because it takes focus. It takes the belief that you are, in fact, the author and the creator of your life. No, I don't believe you make every single thing happen in your life, but I do believe that you are the one through the vibration of how you respond to life circumstances, that creates a new vibe. And the more you elevate the vibe, the greater and greater opportunities and experiences you bring into your life. So I hope you've enjoyed this time together. Thank you for your commitment and your energy and your enthusiasm. Thank you that you are one of the people on the planet that wants to raise the vibe for all of us, creating a world where love prevails, where we all can experience just the happiness and fulfillment that we are here as the human family to experience. I invite you to be in touch with me, to work with me one-on-one as your coach, to join one of my programs, to be engaged in the next summit that I'll be doing in 3 or 4 months from now, and to just really commit yourself on a deep level to raising the vibe in your life and on the planet. Anytime any one of us grows in consciousness, all of humanity changes. Thanks so much.